Hi, everybody. It's April 17th, 2025, and this is the Backdrop Weekly Dev Meeting. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm technical lead and core committer for the Backdrop project. We've got a small group here today, so we'll go ahead and just do quick intros. Why don't you kick us off, Laren, and then Eli.
I'm Laren Grotbaker, living in Memphis and working with Atten Design Group.
Great. And Eli?
My name is Eli Lissick. I'm a developer with Giant Rabbit, and I'm in San Diego, California.
Great. Thanks, folks. I'll let you go back to lunch, Laren.
I'm still listening.
Okay. So, all right, so that's it for our group today. We'll see if more people hop in here as we go along. We've got feature freeze creeping up on us pretty quickly here at the end of the month for Backdrop 131. And major new features for Backdrop 131 seem to be pretty minimal. We've got the PHP version bump to PHP 7.1 and adding support for PHP 8.4. But other like really user-facing features, it doesn't look like we're adding up to a whole lot at this point, but we'll see in the next couple of weeks. Tim just joined, and we're actually going to use the meeting after this to kind of look through and see if we can find some low-hanging fruit to have something demonstratable for end users. But let's see. Other news, some contrib updates. We have a new contributor joining the contrib group, Tapan. Welcome. Thank you. Oh, wait. Sorry. That was from last week. Welcome, Joe Wickert, to the contrib group, and Eli, who's here. Thank you for spotting that contrib application and helping him through that process. He's ported the form options attribute module. So welcome, Joe, and thank you, Eli, for helping. Let's see, and in new projects, we've got the content export import module was released. I saw that showed up on backdropcms.org, although it has a curious version number that it's 1.0.0 beta 001. And I'm laughing and Tim's laughing because he was the one that published the module. So I like that's I wanted to make a release, but I also didn't want people to necessarily use it version number. So Tim, do you want to talk about that module real quick? I know we've been talking about it recently in
Sure.
other events, but since it's out there in the wild, if you want to publicize it a little.
First of all, I think the beta releases are a little more common maybe than you think. But anyways, this is a module that was started a long time ago called BN. It was Backdrop Import Export Nodes. And we changed the name to make it more findable because I think nobody is going to look for BN. I was torn between a name that sounded interesting and one that's just very descriptive. And I think the descriptive names seem to be more usable. So what it does is as exports, you can basically just push a button. It'll export a node type into a JSON file, including the content type and the content. And then you can import that into another site using the same module with just import and import the JSON file. If you have an image field, obviously there's a million different scenarios that content types can be configured and set up, and we've tested limited numbers of them that seem to work. They do include taxonomy terms, like a term reference field. It also includes images. If you have an image field, it will bundle up the images in a tarball with the JSON file, and you can import that. So we'd love to have people test it and try maybe more complex content types and see what happens. I'm sure there are a lot of things that'll probably still break this module, but at least for some basic use cases, we know it's working.
Cool. Let's see. Great. We'll just go right into discussion topics for today. So I'll share my screen and we can start going through them. Okay. So first up, we've got this issue that we talked about last week. This issue title could possibly be renamed because it's a little bit more focused than this now. That Benny Bob W is working on porting. What is it? I can't remember it. The entity translation module. I can't remember quite what it's called. But what he needs here is he needs the ability to translate the titles on an individual node using different properties. And we talked about this last week, how there's some discrepancy between 777's hook entity info and Backdrop's hook entity info, that it provides things like a label callback and label keys that we removed in Backdrop because we didn't think that they were necessary. But this situation of wanting to be able to translate a single entity into multiple different languages has a need to be able to translate that label to be able to replace it with something else. And so that's where hook entity info's ability to provide a label callback and a label entity key becomes valuable. And so in the last week, Benny Bob W filed this pull request that gets us ready for that. And it looks great. This pull request is fantastic. It's exactly what I'd imagined when we talked about it last week, that we are able to remove the label methods from all of the entity classes, like the comment class here. And instead, the label method is added at the entity class, and it just works for all of the various entity types. So this is great. This is exactly what I'd imagined, and yeah, it's a really good start. We're starting to add some documentation, like hook entity info needs to have the new documentation added, and because we don't have anywhere in core that actually uses a label callback, because this is expressly for the use of contrib, we need to add a module that just uses a label callback and then tests to make sure that it works correctly. So this looks really good. I'm excited about this outcome. There's a similar issue around language, adding a language method, and saw that Benny Bob is also working on this as well. So that's pretty great. So thank you, Benny Bob, for both of those issues. I think that that's great to be moving those things forward so we can get that entity translate module ported over and working. So let's see. Next up, we've got CKEditor. Oh boy, it's just always something with CKEditor 5. That a new version came out this past week, and it's version 45. And version 45 is difficult to upgrade to because they made some more changes to their API. So there's a larger concern here. Let's see, here we go. There's a larger concern here that CKEditor 5 is deprecating the entire mechanism with which we're loading CKEditor onto the page. And so they're going to we use this DLL approach to putting CKEditor on the page and then loading plugins like the Backdrop image plugin and the Backdrop link plugin onto the page. And the DLL method is going to be officially deprecated by the end of this year, which doesn't sound too awful, it being deprecated, because it would still actually exist. It wouldn't be removed yet, it doesn't sound like. But this little line here, package versions will no longer include the build directory, is problematic for us because we use the build directory to assemble our collection of files when we update to new versions of CKEditor. So even if the DLL mechanism still exists, we're still going to have to update our build process because the previously built package is no longer going to be there. So that's going to be a little frustrating. But adding to our problems, this improved icon customization that was completed in version 45 also broke our plugins. So, but in a really minor way, but still it's frustrating. So, IndigoZella's latest pull request fixes this, and it's really pretty minor. Like what happened with icons is that they just moved them from one location to the other. So, it used to be this, and now it's this. Like that's pretty minor. But at the same time, if there are contrib or custom plugins that are out there that use the same approach of pointing directly at the icons provided by Cicadator 5 Core, without this little fix in here, Cicadator would totally fail to load. Like the whole thing would just break because of this movement of the icons. So that's a little frustrating. Just that this rearrangement seems to be kind of arbitrary and totally breaks potentially all sites that are using Cicadator just for this like minor rearrangement. I don't know. I might be underselling like what this change was for, but it does reflect Cicadator's kind of laissez-faire, like we break stuff all the time attitude, and it's just really frustrating that this happens maybe once, maybe a couple of times per year, pretty much every single year since we started using it. So anyway, what are we going to do about it? So I looked at IndigoZella's pull request to get us updated to 45 or version 45, and it looks, I think that we can actually get onto version 45 pretty easily. It did break our link plugin as well, so I'll need to take a look at that, but I don't think it's going to be too hard to get it working. But it got me thinking about if we should go ahead and do this switch over to like get to stop using the DLL loading mechanism and switch to the new loading mechanism, because just from the changes that have already been put in place, there's already a pretty good chance that contrib or custom modules are going to be broken potentially by this icon change. But so we could switch to the new loading mechanism. However, when we switch to the new loading mechanism, it will certainly inevitably break all contrib and custom plugins that are out there. And they would also have to do some kind of conversion from one method to the other. We don't quite know what that looks like yet because we haven't actually demonstrated what the change looks like for plugins that are written for Backdrop. But yeah, it's possible that we could start looking into it. Let's see. I looked in here. So I looked in contrib to kind of see how big of an impact, stuff like this icon change or changing the loading mechanism, how big of an impact that would have on contrib. But I found 8 projects in the contrib group that include Cicadator plugins, but literally all of them are for Cicadator 4. The only project that exists for Cicadator 5 isn't even a plugin. It's the Cicadator 5 Inspector module, which is a developer tool for finding out why your plugins aren't working. And so I'm kind of getting the sense that it's possible, because Cicadator 5 plugins are so freaking hard to write in the first place, that nobody's writing them because nobody can. And so it's possible that switching from one loading mechanism to the other would have really pretty minimal impact on our users because there aren't any Cicadator plugin or modules out there for Backdrop, which says a lot in itself. So yeah, there's been some discussion in Zulip about, can we get off of Cicadator 5? And I think we've kind of been saying this for a while, that Cicadator 5 isn't really a good match for our project as far as backwards compatibility is concerned. It just moves too fast and breaks too frequently. And so far we've been pretty good about being able to shield our users from the API changes in Ckeditor 5. But yeah, if there was a lot, if the contrib ecosystem was more developed around Ckeditor 5, we would be in a lot more trouble, it seems like. So I don't know. It's problematic, but so far it looks like we're able to keep navigating around these problems for the time being. And so yeah, I think for now, for version 45, we can fix our link plugin, fix the icons, keep using the DLL builds, but we should start looking into switching to the new loading mechanism as soon as possible, even if it's not possible to maintain compatibility, we need to get an idea of what it looks like, and we can continue evaluating if it looks like doing that switchover is going to be feasible for us because of this small size of our contrib projects that extend this module. So yeah, that's where we are with that. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments?
I have a couple maybe. I mean, the first comment is like I have put up a couple of Ckeditor 4 modules in Contrib that we've written, and that our experience has been like if somebody had custom needs for Ckeditor 4, it just is not worth it to move them to 5, and they're just on 4, and that's what it is. So I feel like it would be fine to not worry about that too much, is my gut instinct. The second question was like, maybe this needs more investigation, but is there any way we could run Ckeditor with like an option, like a build option for a while that's like the default is stick to the old DLL method, and the opt-in is try the new method and see what it breaks. Like that's the kind of thing that, for example, CiviCRM has done recently when they're moving from Smarty version 2 to version 4 or 5 or something, and they had a year where it was like, you can opt into this now and try it, see what it breaks, or you can stick on the old one as long as possible and have people kind of choose their risk level.
I don't know for sure. I think that it might be possible. But what I think that would end up looking like is that we would need to, I think what it would end up looking like is we would need to ship the Ckeditor 5 library twice. One compiled for the new build method and one compiled for the old build method. And so you'd end up with this, 3 megabytes of JavaScript times 2, just to be able to switch between one version and the other. Because I think it fundamentally changes the way that all plugins are called, the way they communicate with each other. And so I think that that would end up being what it looked like. So, I mean, yeah, it's probably possible. It's a bit of a headache for us, but I also just kind of worry about it being a headache for our users, like switching from one to the other. Like I could just see that being, I mean, it would be nice if they did have a custom plugin that they could switch to using that old version for a little while. But yeah, the scope of how many people would benefit from that, is a question we don't know the answer to. And I guess what I'm saying is it might not be worth it, worth the effort there. Because it does look like a lot of effort, and I'm not sure that there's any real need. Not to mention, you'd have this confusing option somewhere that we need to put someplace. Like, use old loading mechanism, you use new loading mechanism, and nobody would have any idea what that meant. Yeah, we do have similar things for like jQuery, for example. Like we've got the jQuery toggle, and one of the issues that's actually open right now, potentially for the next release, is to add jQuery 4, which is a beta version so far, but it might be good to start having that as an option for the future. But yeah, that kind of like choose your library is a pattern that we've also used in Backdrop, but I'm not sure that this is a good fit for it.
Cool. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, yeah, yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on Ckieditor? Okay, let's move on. All right, so we've also got this other little feature. Laren, this is yours. Issue 6859. And there's been some updates here. Do you want to summarize and talk about the updates?
Yeah, I made a PR maybe yesterday. And basically all it does is in hook theme, in that implementation, the main implementation of it, it checks to see if there's an attached array. And if there is, it just processes it. So it's a fairly minimal change that I think is pretty cool. On that last comment there, I added a little module I was just testing with to add an attached array to a particular registry entry, and then some simple testing to make sure that the CSS was getting added when that hook theme was called and not when it wasn't.
Yeah, this did end up being super simple, huh? Like this is really the key. Like it's a 4-line change of the main capability, and this is documentation. Yeah, I mean, just as easy as it sounded. So that's great. Cool. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, so it sounds like you were just saying that you were working on test coverage, because that's what's missing here.
I haven't worked on that yet, but this isn't the module I mentioned isn't for test coverage. It was just for testing while I was personally making sure it was working. So I was thinking one possibility we'd need some test coverage, figure out what that looks like, but then also potentially if I know that in one of the earlier comments there was a something listed about like this preprocess function was added and all it does is added CSS. So we could potentially convert if we notice things like that, we could convert them to this format as well to clean things up a bit. But
Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah, like this example. Let's see if I can actually find this on the doc site. Yep, it is indeed does actually exist. So yeah, where it's just this might not be the best example though, because this is actually
yeah, true.
Bartik
Theme
adding something.
specific. But
Yeah, theme specific rather than it being attached at the hook theme info level itself. But yeah, situations like this where there's a preprocess function and then the CSS or the library is being added inside of preprocess, that would be great
well,
to
I
switch
may
this out.
scan around a bit and see if I see any of them just to include it as part of the PR for example of how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, just generally, I mean, I like backdrop add JS and backdrop add CSS as being like accessible, new developer friendly ways of adding CSS to the page. But as far as like core patterns are concerned, it would be nice if we moved towards using attached everywhere that was possible, whether that was in a form element using pound attached, or now that we have it, this ability to specify attached at hook theme info. And the reason why is that it's when it's inside of a pre-process function like this, there's no way to stop it from running. Like there's, I mean, you could maybe do some magic with hook theme registry info alter or something like that to like stop the pre-process function from running, but it's really hard once this has been added to stop it from being added. I guess, I mean, you can do it in the info file, but anyway, it's not in a place that is alterable or stoppable when it's inside of a pre-process function. And when it's in pound attached, you can use hook form alter to take it out before it gets placed, or now you'll be able to alter out it from hook theme info as well. So I kind of just have a preference for using pound attached whenever possible. Or just attached as it will be in this case. So that's great. I like it. Cool. All right. That's it. We don't actually have other topics for today. Oh wait, hang on. There's one more. Nothing new right now, but hoping to polish this in the next day or two. Oh, okay. Was this you that added that comment?
Yeah, I added that. I'm working on
Oh.
I'm working on a early version of layout paragraphs that will use this. It's built on this patch. So I have to figure out what needs to be cleaned up here yet and have someone else actually look at it. I think I have a note on there that says don't bother looking at this yet, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, this is somewhere in here. We're gonna have an info file, right? Or no, it's not there yet. But yeah, this is great. So in the info file for layouts, this is gonna add like a layout type or something like that, right? In
Well,
the
I haven't
file.
been doing it in the info file. If that's the preferable place, I may need to revise slightly. I'm trying to, it's been a while since I did this one. I'm trying to remember how I did it, but I don't think I did it in the info file. Basically, this allows, like in my case, paragraphs to use some of the functionality of layouts and then send with it a layout type, so that when it saves the config, it saves it as layout.paragraphs instead of layout.layout or layout.flexible.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Yeah, I'm definitely in support of doing this. Like we've had this desire to make it so that layouts can be used in other scenarios since the beginning of layouts. And there have been some contrib solutions like mini layouts that would also probably benefit from this.
Yes, I think so. I think so, yeah.
Great. That'll be really cool. Yeah, so yeah, those are the topics that we had for today. I want to take a peek at the Backdrop 131 milestone here. Because it's looking pretty minimal. We did update CKEditor 5. We are going to add the emoji plugins into CKEditor 5, so that's good. That'll be something that's user facing. But you can see here that amongst the topics that we talked about and what is likely to get in, that this is going to be kind of, so from the looks of it, a very API centric release. There's going to be very little user facing additions. The emojis will probably be the main thing, but yeah, PHP 8.4 support, adding APIs to entity classes, adding cache bins, like changing the way that CSS classes are filtered. This one is an end user facing feature. Allow a layout to be applied to multiple paths. But it's not a new user feature. This is like a power user feature. So yeah, it is looking like this will be a pretty like infrastructure, low level kind of release, which is fine. But yeah, it always makes, writing our release notes for a new release, like the things that are visual, that are screenshotable have bigger impact, I think, and are better for publicity rather than, showing that, we're, being so developer centric, which, contributes to other major things in the future that are going to be really beneficial. But it does make writing, up a showy blog post a little difficult. I don't know. I don't mean to be complaining about all the work that we're
Yeah.
we're doing. But, yeah, Tim gets it.
I feel the same way, but I also respect the fact that we had a really good release last time. And it's okay if it's a little bit less. I do still am hoping that maybe we can dig up a couple of easy wins. There's usually a few of them in the issue queue, although it might be that we've done a lot of them now. There may be fewer of that low hanging fruit than there used to be, but I don't know. I'm going to be
Yeah,
looking for that today, seeing what I can find.
One thing that I mentioned during Backdrop Live is the ability to insert an image style when you're
Mhm.
using the image modal. And I think
Oh, that would
this
be a
is it.
nice
Yeah,
one.
okay, here we go. It's 2658 is that issue. And this is something that I think is relatively easy, would be a nice end user facing feature. But there's no work on it yet. Like
Mhm.
there's no pull request, there's no code backing this up. It's
Yeah.
just something that it's been open since 2017. But
I
something
want to
that was
say that there's something happening in Contrib, maybe. Oh,
let's see. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there was. Oh yeah, here we go. This is back in 2014 though. Sorry, 2024 is what I meant to say.
Mhm.
Sorry, project page.
CKEditor 5 plugin spotted.
It is, yeah, it is a Seek Editor 5 plugin. Yeah, okay, there it is. Sure enough, 2 months ago. And it does have a release.
I haven't used it, and if memory serves, it maybe just replaces the like recreates and replaces the core.
Oh gosh, it does. It just like hacked it. It's the whole plugin. Yeah, that's less than ideal. Yeah, but this still could be useful for finding the modifications that are necessary to make it apply into core itself. So it's good that there's at least something
Mhm.
to be pulling from. And it does look like, it's using a filter. That's great. Newer, just small code critique here. Most newer filters that I've seen don't use regular expressions anymore. Like we can use the PHP HTML DOM objects to like find the image tags, then modify them, and then update them in place. And that tends to be a little more robust than regular expressions. But still, yeah,
Mhm.
this has got the concept, yeah, that it's using an image style, data image style attribute, and then it's finding that image style and then it's replacing it with the path to the image style. Yeah, this is conceptually exactly what we're talking about. So this is great. Cool. So it's possible. It's possible that this might be doable even in the couple of weeks that we've got. Yeah, my client would like this. There's actually I made a new release of the insert module, which I wrote ages ago for Drupal 7, and the insert module was before we even had WYSIWYGs or a modal dialog. The idea was that you would add an image field, and then from the image field you would click insert and it would insert into the body area, whether you're using a WYSIWYG or plain text or whatnot. And I was surprised that my client, who had been using it in Drupal 7, wanted to keep using it in Backdrop, and I was a little bit perplexed as to why, and it was because he wanted the ability to do an image style, and it's because he watermarks his inline images with an image style, and he wanted to be able to continue watermarking his inline images. And so if we added this ability to the main modal dialog, it might finally make it so that that wasn't necessary anymore. Great. All right. Well, that's all the topics that we have for today. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up?
I'd just like to ask a quick question to get some feedback that might affect a contrib module. It could also affect core, although that's not my goal here. It's the word revision. So I've never had a problem with it. And again, right now, I'm not necessarily proposing that we change it in core, but with this forward revisions module, something about the forward revision seems past and seems almost contradictory. And I'm just doing a quick screenshot that this is the idea. The way the revisions module works is that any of the revisions can be the current revision. That's the one showing to the public. So then you've got one that hasn't been published yet, that's forward, and you've got one that's history. And I don't know, I keep feeling like the word revision for all of these things doesn't feel right, but I don't know if that's just me.
Maybe it should just be versions.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I was just
that's what
thinking about version 2.
That's what I was going to propose was, and again, I'm not at this page proposing it for core, but at least for this module, was when we have forward revisions, maybe we drop the term revision and use versions. I bumped into at least one person so far that didn't like that idea at all. And thought that maybe revision was a term that people were used to, like in the publishing world or something. And I'm just wondering, is that true? I feel like I'm so used to revision just because that's what Drupal and Backdrop do. But does revision really make more sense than version?
I mean, personally, I like the word version better, but I appreciate the argument that revision is a term that's been used and people may be familiar with it.
Right.
But it's interesting that you think of revision as a past tense or past representing the past, because I think of it as representing the changing it for the future.
I say that very softly later, and I'm not sure. It just something I think what feels odd to me is that it's used for both the past and the future here in this situation, right? That's what bothers me. And I'm not sure which is more appropriate. My gut went towards past, but anyways. Okay.
And then
I
we
was
have
just
the
looking
whole,
for a little feedback.
I see the term active revision in the message and current revision in the further down in the UI.
Oh, yes. Thank you for catching that. That's another. We talked about doing a UI in core a while back, and one of the big things we got stuck on is what to call this. And I don't love current revision, but it seems to work as good as anything else. I mean, active isn't bad either, but I don't know. Anyways, if anybody wants, this is a contrib issue. If anybody wants to try this module out, we have an unreleased version in the contrib space and offer feedback. I have a whole number of UI related issues. Functionally, it's doing what we want right now, but like we're going to get rid of the word node because we don't like that, and little things like that. So
yeah, interesting. In under the hood in the database, it's not RID, it's VID for version ID. Right? It's not revision ID. So that's interesting. It kind of makes me wonder if this argument was held in the ancient past, right? Where it had originally been called a version and then it was changed to revision in like Drupal 3 or something.
But then you
like
have field underscore revision underscore.
What? Oh,
the table names use the word revision.
Oh, they do use revision.
And revision.
Well,
anyways, I have little doubt that this has been argued before, and I was just wondering if anybody had any insights on like why we settled on revision.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, create new revision. Create new version.
I mean, version just seems so natural to me. I have to believe there was some real deliberate thought into why that didn't happen.
Yeah. I don't know. When it comes to terminology, well,
Yeah.
first of all, I'm not really the best person, but but you know, that's interesting. Like there's something about the verb tenses here that's like you can revise something, right? But there isn't a verb for version. There's just create a new version, right?
Mhm.
And revision and revise, like I could see there being some kind of um, reason why it derived from that. I don't know. Like, yeah. Hmm. Like create new revision isn't something that you would normally say. Like if you were asking somebody else to look at something, you would be like, can you revise this, right? Not right.
Yeah.
So there's something awkward about the language of create a revision because that's not something that you would ever say to a person. Yeah.
Um, okay. I'm good. I might just ask one more sort of general. This is more of a contrib question to uh, just recently have been reminded how many contrib modules out there that I don't know about. And we have this use case on a previous site where the client basically wanted every image to have the ability to just pop up. And I don't know if just like the color box module alone would do, maybe it does this, but we did a kind of a custom solution in a Drupal 7 site. Now we're doing it in Backdrop, and I don't want to do custom again. I'd like to either find an existing contrib module or maybe make one because it feels to me like a useful use case. Does anybody know? Is there already a module to do this or an easy way to do this that wouldn't require a module?
I believe that color box has some kind of an option where you can, when you use a
Okay.
color box on a field, you can tell it to pop up to a different version of the image, a different size or image style. But I don't know. I don't think it has the little caption thing like that.
I spaced, the obvious color box answer to this yesterday when I was thinking about this. It wasn't until I was talking about it that it occurred to me that that's where we should start, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll start there, see if there's a way to do it, and maybe there's this, we can modify that or create a submodule.
Yeah, that's my
Um,
impression too.
Let me ask this in terms of core. Well, it's a statement, but it could also be a core issue. We also were yesterday looking at the need to, or the desire to do layouts, have a visibility condition for layouts based on a field value. And we can't do that in core. And I thought, well, I bet there's a module out there. It turns out there is. There's a field visibility condition module, which lets you use any field to create a visibility condition. Would that be a core candidate? Is it a core candidate? Do we have an issue for that in core, or is it?
I think there's an issue for it.
Given there's a contrib module for it, is it something that might be relatively easy? Would that be a low-hanging fruit one?
Possibly.
Maybe this one,
I like the
4728, maybe.
yeah. Oh, there's
I know
actually
I'm
a
going
pull
to be
request.
using. I know I'm going to be using that module now. Oh, expose fields. Yeah. I think yeah, looks like maybe this issue is what spurred the release of the contrib module. Doc Wilmot did the contrib module. It's currently has no listed maintainer, but and it's got some quirky stuff like it's got an image field, so you can use the image field as a condition, but the only thing you can choose for the condition is like to upload an image. So it's kind of like, you know, where I was hoping it would, I could use the image field, but I was hoping it would be like a yes or no, right? Is there an image? Then do this. If not, do that. And instead, it's got the option to upload an image. Like, okay, so any node that has that exact image. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah, it looks
Uh,
like it's a little, it's not specific enough. There's only one handler for all fields, and there probably needs to be a lot of handlers for all of the various fields, just like there are for views, right? Like you end up
okay.
with a ton of views handlers for all of the different access controls. And this only has the starting one.
Okay, so it would take some work, although, I mean, would you have to get all of them to get? Is there like a list of supported field types that would have to be handled to get into core or?
Well, the existence of the contrib module might make it a little bit more difficult if we're going to be replacing the contrib module, and the contrib module can do more than what the core replacement does. So that could be a little problematic. But if we weren't concerned about the contrib module, or we did it in a way that didn't affect the contrib module, then yeah, we could be iterative with it and be like, okay, well, let's add support for text fields first, text and number fields or something like that. And ideally, what we'd actually see, just like with views, each field module would provide its handler for its type. So like, the text module would provide the access check for layouts, and then for text fields, and then the number module would do the number access control for layouts. And so rather than layout module having all of the access plugins for everything, we'd start putting the layout access checks into the various modules, the same as we do for views.
Sure.
Looks like 31 sites are reporting use of that module right now.
Right. That sounds right. The most common use case, it seems to me, and it was my first use case, was just a Boolean checkbox that a specific, and maybe there's another way to do this, so let me know. We've got an article content type, and then we have featured articles, and we'd like featured articles to use a different layout than regular articles. So we just have a Boolean checkbox already on the field that you can click, and I just love to use that as a visibility condition. Without custom code, I don't know if there's any way to do that in core. This module will do that part for us. It just won't do the other. So
Yeah, the other ones like has image. Yeah.
there isn't. You can't think of another way to already. Sometimes there are ways to do that in core that I just haven't thought of. Like have the same content type, but it just like have a checkbox or something that triggered a different layout. Okay, I'll take that as a no.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, I mean, there's definitely ways to do it, but it just wouldn't be as clean. Like it'd be kind of hacking.
Sure.
Like if you set up a vocabulary that had one term that was a checkbox, and then you checked it, then you could use the vocabulary,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to run.
Okay.
Good deal.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks,
Larry.
Larry. Yeah, we are at the top of the hour, so let's just go ahead and wrap it up for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Thanks to those people that watch these videos afterwards as well. So we'll close it for today. Thank you.